Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you a video about a pair of Gucci Rhyton sneakers. I think that's how you say that. I thought I would just start off with showing you just briefly kind of what the sneaker looks like. You can probably already pick up on a lot of imperfections. Unfortunately, this was another case of a buyer posting very small, far away, blurry pictures. From those pictures, which were not great, it looked like it was real, like they were real, and the price was really too good to pass up. And I have often had purchases like that where the seller is not really interested in getting top dollar for the item. They're really just mainly interested in just offloading items. The reason I was more okay with taking the chance on this purchase, well, number one, most platforms are going to side with you when you have a counterfeit replica item. There are lots of resellers online that have Instagram accounts that you can go and get a lot of info from them. One that I recently heard talking about buying replicas online, accidentally of course, is the Profit Collective. She's an Australian reseller. Tons of great tips. I've been listening to her a lot. But she had an interesting discussion where she was talking about trying to give yourself like 3 layers of protection in the situation where you are buying these higher end goods and you are afraid naturally of counterfeit items. So she was essentially saying, okay, well, so your first layer of protection is going to be the platform that you're buying on. So again, most of these platforms not allowed to be selling counterfeits on them. Lots of people are squeaking by it somehow. I think it's just because it's too difficult for the platforms to be monitoring all these accounts that come up daily and sell fakes. But then there are also people that, you know, are maybe trying to run a legitimate business and accidentally end up getting a hold of one of these items that is counterfeit. They don't realize, maybe they're not experienced in selling it, so they don't pick it up themselves. Anyways, lots of reasons why you might end up with counterfeits on these sites, but your first layer of protection is going to be naturally the platform. And I think the majority of platforms, in the majority of situations, if you reach out to them, regardless of the window, the period window, although you should do it as soon as possible, and you say, hey, look at this information that I have, this item is fake. Like in my situation, I went through an authentication service, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And this tells me that, you know, this item is a replica. This is against your platform policy, and therefore I would like to open a return. Send me a label if you want. I'll ship the item back to whoever, wherever you want me to ship it to, or I'll destroy it, whatever. And I would like a refund, please. That's usually how I handle these situations. Your second layer of protection should be for you to buy through, I guess, not third party, I don't even know what this would be called, but essentially through PayPal. So you put your credit card account or whatever, your debit account in PayPal, and then you insert your PayPal information in the platform that you're going to be buying with. I think that is an option on, definitely on eBay, I think on Poshmark, not sure about Mercari, but then that can be your additional layer of protection, because if for whatever reason the platform says, hey, you're maybe like outside the return window or whatever, then you can go through PayPal and say, hey, open a dispute, this item is inauthentic, here's my data, I want a refund. So that could be your second layer of protection. And then your third layer of protection, and I would suggest that you do this like at the very last thing, is to go through your credit card or your banking institution and essentially tell them, hey, this was a counterfeit item, here's my information, the platform did not want to do whatever, and then that can be your final layer of protection. I think in this particular situation, I'll be able to get a refund. If not, I would open a dispute with my credit card. But I haven't incorporated the intermediary protection level of PayPal, but that is a good thought. So anyways, so I purchased this item. I actually had purchased another item from this particular seller, and I did see that on their account, you know, they've sold multiple luxury items. They always have pretty crappy pictures, and so it just gave me the impression that they just had a lot of inventory and they're just trying to offload it and not really doing a good job about representing their items to try to get top dollar for it, which I am okay with that. I want to value add, I want to clean up the product, I want to take better pictures and get a higher, so that's fine with me. However, now that this item is fake, it really makes me question wanting to get additional items from them. Fortunately, the item that I previously received, I am certain was authentic. However, really makes me question about maybe going back to this person to buy things again, or if, you know, I see something that is like definitely a good deal, I'm always going to be doing another layer of authentication service with their item, unfortunately, which just is another thing that will add to my cost. But I did that with this item because, as you'll see, there are a couple of details on this product that really made me question its authenticity from the very get-go. Anyways, yeah, so the authentication service essentially kind of confirmed my suspicion with, they give you very brief details for the like basic layer of authentication where they essentially say yes or no. You can buy additional layers of like information as with many of these authentication services. So I guess I'll just let you know right now. So I use legitgrails.com. I have had amazing experience with them every single time I've used them for like probably up to 30 items of authentication at this point. This is not a sponsored video. I feel like I should have to say that. But hey, Legit Grails, if you're listening and you want to sponsor me, I am your biggest fan. So let me tell you like why I have had such good experiences. So every time I have a question, they have a chat service, and it seems like there is someone always on. It seems like it's the same person, and they do an amazing job. Their communication is super clear. They get back to me right away. I've had situations where I was looking for a document, an authentication certificate on an item that I had authenticated some time ago, and then I had sold it like 6 months or more later, and I couldn't find it. And I will say that their interface is not the easiest to use. You can't quite tell which order went with which item. I think that's probably an area that they could improve upon. However, she helped me find it. She couldn't do it right then since I did have so many prior orders, but she went through and figured out, you know, the document and ended up emailing me later after she had found out. So anyways, I am super thrilled at how good their service is, and I would say that they're very comparable. I think Mercari offers similar cost of authentication. $15 is what Legit Grails for their very basic tier of authentication, which I think is very reasonable. The Mercari one is cheaper, and you do get a certificate, but I feel like the additional service of being able to speak to someone, being able to, you know, maybe ask about something is definitely worth it. So anyways, I highly recommend legitgrails.com, and I'm for sure going to continue using them. So moving on to the item itself. So, as you can tell, just from this first picture, there are lots of things that are wrong with this item, specifically some of the coloring. Now, I think that this shoe has already been worn a lot, which maybe, you know, some of the wear could have been attributed to that. But honestly, I think that Gucci items are so well made. There's so much attention to detail that even a lot of wear shouldn't have created some of the flaws that have occurred in this shoe. So the staining is kind of the first thing that you see. And I think that could be from, you know, maybe some of the glue that was utilized in producing the shoe, or maybe some of the dye from the other components next to the like white canvas. But I've not ever seen that type of wear with any of the Rhyton sneakers, or really any of the canvas covered Gucci materials, even in like the super old materials. I mean, could this stain be from just something that the owner stained it with? Totally. But here it kind of seems like it got wet and then it kind of bled from the materials. There's a couple different areas that have that same type of look. I will say these were super dirty when they got to me. Another one of those situations of value adding. And so this is actually after them after they were soaked in, I'm blanking on the stuff that I soaked it in. Anyways, so after 24 hours of soaking in like this stain removal liquid, this is what they look like clean. And there's still this kind of like dyed stained area that I just can't get rid of. So here's another area. This is definitely just along the edge of this other component that has been this coated canvas component. And you'll see that it's just along that area. So this makes me think that it's coming from the glue that was used to put this shoe together. So that's kind of some of the first things that you see. This area of paint, I actually did this when I was cleaning with a magic eraser some of this plastic, and accidentally just barely swiped this painted coated leather. And so that tells me that this was just done with like very minimal materials. It was coated just with one coat, and so much so that me, you know, not even meaning to, just barely wiping by this took off the paint. So that just tells me, again, you know, not a lot of time was spent creating this shoe. One of the biggest telltale signs is this plastic, kind of where the sole meets the shoe itself. I mean, it's just like totally coming undone. It's like not the right fit. You would never expect something like this for a $900 shoe, which is what these retail for initially. If you look here where the coated canvas meets this sole, you can see that some of the paint has kind of come off, and I think it's because they used glue to glue this sole onto it, which tells me one thing, that this, what is made to look like coated canvas, is actually not. So coated canvas, as you may have seen with lots of purses, like maybe Louis Vuitton obviously has a lot of their items are coated canvas. The canvas itself is impregnated with the dye of the pattern that they're trying to, you know, represent, and then it's coated. So you can't like wipe off the pattern, at least with the majority of these items, of the coated canvas that I have seen. But this, basically the glue that was used to put the sole together, when it came undone, just pulled that layer of paint off of this material. So the area where it's supposed to be this monogrammed Gucci, I think Guccissima is the style of the monogram, it's just been pulled off. So that tells me that this is just printed plastic. I mean, if you look close up, you'd almost be fooled, but this is not coated canvas. Some of the printed monogrammed material, you can see there's some pilling on here. The Gucci items do not do that. You can see right in the front where the pink sole comes together, the stitching has come undone. And again, you see where the glue kind of took off the print of the Gucci. I mean, the more and more I look at this, the more and more I should have just known right away that this was totally fake. But I've only handled one other pair of Rhyton sneakers, which on like initially looking at this, like they kind of felt like the weight is the same, the feel of the material is the same, but I should have just taken a closer look. You know, I don't know that I necessarily need an authentication service to tell me that these are fake, but I just, you know, wanted to be sure, because maybe they did just like kind of, I don't know, wear the crap out of them. Okay. Other things that I would say that kind of fooled me were the stitching. So the stitching is actually not as sloppy as I thought it would be. I mean, here it is for sure, but like on some of these edges that are visible to the outside, not as messy as I would have expected them to be. You see kind of some of these fraying ends on this reflective material. Gucci items will never have that. And then one thing that I kind of saw, and maybe I'll show you on the other shoe, but this tab here actually looks very similar to the authentic Gucci's. At first when I saw this, I was like, ooh, it's like kind of off center, but actually they're all like that. So they replicated that part well. The plastic itself, so like this plastic material, again, I've sold one other pair of Rhyton sneakers, and the pair that I did receive before, again, it had the kind of the same heavy feel, this hard like plastic, and they did have some scuffs on them because they had been worn, but I was able to remove all of the scuffs with just a magic eraser. It was so simple, so easy. I was scrubbing forever at this thing and I could not get it out. So that tells me that this is not quite the same material. And you know, I just was never really able to get rid of that. Also, you'll notice that if you kind of look real close up, some of this pink is actually bleeding into this beige material. That should not happen. The materials that are used on the Rhyton sneaker does not have that happen. So again, this is just another example of like not correct materials being used. But again, you kind of have to zoom up real close to see those details. And then finally, on this shoe, so the inside, there's kind of this like terry cloth lining, and I'll show you a little bit better on the other shoe that I've taken the laces off. There's actually like this bleaching that has happened with the inside liner, and you know, maybe that's just from the owner. Maybe they tried to clean it off and that happened, but it makes it look really cheap and terrible. But again, maybe not something that you can necessarily authenticate the item with. And then inside you'll see the Gucci logo, and again, this tag actually looks pretty good. There's no fraying edges. The sewing is pretty clean. And then probably one of the most obvious things is there is no serial number on this shoe at all, and actually nothing that guides you as to what size these are. And I'll have to do a little bit of research and remind myself what the other shoe was like, if they actually had a serial number or a size tag. But in my experience, almost all Gucci items actually have a serial number in them. So this was my listing for the Gucci Rhyton sneakers that I have sold in the past. And you can see they're obviously a different style than the ones I'm showing you. They had the coated canvas throughout with the monogrammed logo, and these came with all of the accessories, and they were in just much better condition than the ones that I've been showing you. The insides of these ones were this very buttery, soft, luxurious leather, and they had padded insoles, which were super comfortable. I can see why someone would want to buy these shoes, especially after they tried them on. I think the shape is very odd still, but they're probably super comfortable. As you can see, the outer plastic hard sole fits perfectly with the rest of the shoe. There's no gap, there's no stitching that's coming undone. The soles are a very good copy. They had exactly this shape, and even the Gucci imprint, everything is identical. Yeah, these were obviously authentic. I think I have a tag picture here to show you. Yeah, so just like how the current shoes that I'm showing you have that Gucci imprint that's just slightly off center. That's just how they normally look. And then yeah, on the inside they did have this serial number, but that was imprinted into the insole of the leather. Or not the insole, the inside of the shoe. Yeah, so these were, definitely authentic, but they're obviously a very different style. All right, so just really briefly, I'll go into the other shoe. I've removed the shoelace so you can get a better idea of the inside, which I'll show you in just a second. But while we're in this view, you can see some more of that staining that I just couldn't get rid of. That looks weird and terrible. And then the actual plastic of the sole has gotten stained as well, and this actually pretty much like embedded into the plastic, and there was no way that I could remove this no matter how much magic erasing I did, unfortunately. And you'll see this shoe is running into the same issues of that harder plastic sole fitting into the shoe, so terrible quality. Yeah. Okay. And then, so here's that tab again, just showing that the Gucci is kind of off center, but that is normal. Another giveaway is kind of this tab here that's supposed to hold some of the shoelace to pull this tongue forward, is actually not sewed and hard to get the shoelace through, and I feel like an attention to detail that Gucci would have done. Here is the inside of this particular shoe. This is actually cleaned after like 24 hours of being soaked in OxiClean. That's what I was blanking on, OxiClean. So yeah, you can see there's no size tag in here, no serial number, which I thought was kind of weird. If you look at some of the edges here, you'll see just fraying and things just don't look neat. So, and then here just kind of some like loose ends. Gucci would never look like that. Yeah, so just looked pretty gross inside. And I'll just show you the inside of the sole as well. I did not take out the sole of the other shoe that I had showed you that was authentic to look, because I really just had no questions about that one. But you'll see this one, they actually did spend quite a bit of time in monogramming the underside of this sole. So it would be interesting to compare what the actual sole of a real shoe would look like. But there you have it. So some more monogramming. So they really tried their best with this shoe, and it, I could have almost been fooled, but there were just lots of signs on this shoe that it was not real. So there you have it, guys. Overall, I would say that I am not a pro at authenticating the Rhyton sneaker. I know a little bit more now after this particular incident, but probably I'm going to continue to use legitgrails.com for more authentication of this particular kind of sneaker if I were to get it in the future. And really probably the majority of Gucci items, honestly. Like, I just don't want to go through the process of selling a high dollar item and having it run the risk of getting my account closed down because I sold something that wasn't authentic. I'm not about that. I do not condone that. So I highly recommend that you use some authentication service if you are ever unsure of the items that you're selling online. And if you want to use what I use, legitgrails.com, it's just been lovely to work with them. All right, guys, so wish me luck in getting my money back on these. I don't think I should have any problem, but yeah, wish me luck all the same. Okay, thank you so much for watching my super long video. Please like and subscribe my video, and check out the links if you want to see my store and all the other items that I sell. It's a smorgasbord of things there in my Poshmark and eBay closets. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye now.